the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. And today I am lucky enough to be with Jaimie Engle. Jaimie, could you please give us a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I write mostly books, comics, film, and television in a specific area of family loyalty in fierce societies, how that interacts, tend to have a supernatural slant and some sort of an adventure. I also write romantic comedies. Don't ask the connection there.
Well, you know, we all like to read in a variety of genres, so why not write in a variety of genres?
Absolutely, Alison. I couldn't agree more.
So I've had the opportunity to watch you grow on LinkedIn. So that's I go to Facebook or LinkedIn. Those are my typical platforms. But I've seen you do all these like little videos and you have like the wins of the week and they're really exciting. And you've had a lot of wins lately. Could you give us what's been the most exciting thing that's happened to you lately?
Oh my goodness. It's mostly, there's so much happening. It's hard to narrow it down, but I do have one of my TV shows that is currently with a producer and they're looking for funding, and the producer is connected by past experiences and current projects with a very well-known horror book author, probably the most well-known horror book author, and really excited about seeing the progress of that. And the story called The 9 Circles is based off of a short story that I wrote, and it was adapted into a comic book. And the comic released last month. The next issue comes out on Wednesday of this month, and then the third issue next month. So I think the buzz around The 9 Circles in book, film, and comic adaptation has been really exciting. And it's been so cool to see my work in real life. You know, Alison, as writers, it's all up in our minds, but becoming a comic book writer and seeing an illustrator take my words and put them in visual form for the first time ever has been very, very cool to experience.
Wow. I'm just going to start with wow. All right. So with comics, you've partnered with someone who does the illustrations?
Yes, I can't draw a stick figure. I can barely draw letters if I'm thinking of them as art.
Well, and I don't know anything about having to write a comic. Is there like a different principle?
Yes. I wrote the comic because a company out of Port St. Lucie called Blood Moon Comics, they reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in turning one of my screenplays into a comic book. And Stan Lee, when he wrote comics, he wrote basically a television or a movie script. And that was kind of interesting to me. And I said, okay, I can do that. The difference is when you're writing a book, you're writing everything on the outside and the inside. So it's everything on the page. When you're writing a screenplay or a television show, you're only writing what the audience can see or hear. So it's a lot more limiting. And when you're writing a comic, you combine all of that, because I have to translate to the illustrator, just broadly, in this scene, there is a yellow handkerchief on the ground, and that's very important. So he has to know that. Or I imagine this demon in the 9 Circles being kind of like a jaguar human hybrid. And then I let him go. But I also have to do the visual along with the dialogue. So it's kind of a mashup.
That's really interesting. And okay, so you were somebody reached out to you, and that's how you got started with comics. Tell me about the collaborations that you've been able to make, just on not just comics, but in everything. Because with movies, with television, all that, you have to have a lot of collaborations. And how do people even do that? Like, how do they even start to find out information about collaborations?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm in Florida, obviously, and that is where I live. So I have 2 paths as far as the collaboration process with the film and television. The first path was I was connected with an entertainment attorney who was best friends with a real estate agent who took a class of mine for real estate, because I do have a Florida license. So that was like a unicorn story. And from that meeting, I wrote a romantic comedy. It was sold to a production company. We go into production in October of 2022, and we've already secured network distribution. So that's like the unicorn story. I can't tell anybody how to do that. It's purely, to me, God opening a door. On the other side, I was waiting, because this is the most longest game in the universe, waiting for your stuff to happen. So while I was waiting, I started writing more film and adapting some of my short stories and books into television shows. So I went on LinkedIn, which is my favorite place in the universe to network. So I met all kinds of people, and they reached out to me mostly. Some of them I did reach out to them, but it was like I had something to bring to the table, or we had a mutual connection. Like one of those people is Winnie Cooper from the Wonder Years, and like that was so cool. But my rom-com guys were working with her friend, so I was like, oh hey, we're in the same circle-ish. So, just using that networking through LinkedIn has been tremendous to open doors. So I highly recommend doing that, but not in a way where you connect with somebody who's at NBC and you're like, hi, I have the next greatest script in the world, because everybody does. We all do. We wouldn't have written it if we didn't think that. So but for me, it has totally been a LinkedIn universe, and I have had such tremendous doors open, and I've got 3 of my television shows optioned through LinkedIn, and one of my feature films optioned through LinkedIn connections.
Oh my goodness. Wow. See, I said good things are happening.
Yeah, good things. It's been fun. It's been really fun.
All right, you did talk about the waiting game. And so while you were waiting, you started to be productive. So, and you didn't go the self-published route at all. Is that correct?
No, I am self-published. I have had 2 agents, and I have worked with 2 publishers, and none of those ventures really panned out for me, excluding the comic book, which is traditionally published.
All right. So, and then, I mean, it's crazy all the stuff you do, but it seems to flow so well that you can tap into these different types of things. So many of us get pegged into a certain shtick, like we focus only on one thing, but by keeping it diverse, you're really able to have more conversations with people, and you can develop a broader spectrum and a broader resume.
No, absolutely. And one of the reasons I said yes to the comic book is because I wanted to sell the TV show. And I could do a proof of concept video for $25,000 that would just go out and hopefully attract somebody to buy the show. Or I could I think I spent between $3,000 and $5,000. It wasn't cheap, but I could create a comic book that I could sell and get that $3,000 to $5,000 back eventually, and at least have a product in a different market for a different audience that would build a platform for the TV show, plus be able to get my money back. So to me, it kind of made sense to drop that change so that I could attract the producer. And to be honest, the day that this Stephen King producer got the script, he reached out to me and said, I love this. I'm talking to my guys about funding. I want to get this off the ground. I want this to be in my next project list. So it worked. It did what I needed it to do. And I've loved it. I've never in a million years would have thought to do a comic. And it has been a tremendous amount of fun. And, working with Cool as Heck, my artist, has been amazing. He's like he's my sensei. And then Blood Moon Comics has been great with just kind of helping us to get out and do conferences and things.
So when you get that phone call that says, hey, I want to fund this project, tell me the little happy dance that you did. Did you just jump around? Oh my gosh.
Well, I was doing those Friday wins for the week dances, because the purpose wasn't to celebrate my wins or brag at all. It was all about, this is such a long journey. It's a long tail adventure to be a creative. that we lose sight of all the little victories we have, which might even be one person reaching out to you and going, hey, I read your book, I loved it. Or somebody took the time to post a good review on Goodreads or Amazon. We don't think of those as victories, but they really add up if you stop and think and look back and see all of the milestone steps you took to get to your next big moment that you're striving for. And it's really easy to lose sight of that over a 9-month period from conception to birth of a book. How many amazing things happen. So that's why I started doing those wins for the week dances, to just get people, look at your week. What did you do this week? Well, this week I wrote 5 days a week. Like, wow, that's huge. That gets you to, your publication date. So that it was just an amazing moment. And I think my biggest takeaway, because I told this producer, I said, I want to write full time. It doesn't have to be my story. So if you have other projects you'd like to collaborate with, think of me. And he said, oh, that's great, because I love your writing. And I'm sitting here going, okay, you're currently you've worked with Stephen King and his writing, and you love my writing. And that was the coolest thing for me. Even if nothing comes from him, just to hear him say that I gave him a joy, and Stephen King gives him a joy, was like a monster win for the week for this lady.
Yeah, that's really great. And when somebody tells you that, they think you've done a nice job, it does feel really, really good.
Yeah. And it can be an 8-year-old kid or that producer, and it feels just as good. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. We are insecure creatures, us creatives, and we do need to have positive reinforcement to keep going.
Absolutely. So do you have advice that you might give, your former self, your younger self?
Yes. I think the biggest thing I have messed up on is being patient and understanding that there's a lot of things that have to come together for the universe to allow a creative art to blossom. And a lot of times I am very capable of being impatient and then therefore pushy, because I feel like you're not doing enough and I would do more. And the truth is that if that's the only thing I have to work on, that's my problem. And I really need to be working on other projects and other avenues to have multiple things. It's just like investing. You shouldn't put all of your money into a stock or into a house. Nothing should all go into one thing, but we do that with our creativity, I think. And someone told me have a 5 business plan, and if you make $10,000 on each business, then you're doing pretty okay. And so I kind of try to go in that route. So if it's books, comics, film, television, and speaking, then if I can make a little bit of money on each of those, then I should do okay.
I am excited to share with everybody that you will be joining us at the Florida WritersCon this year in October.
Yay! I can't wait. I am so excited. It's been a while since I've been back to the con, and it's going to be amazing.
Tell me what your workshop is.
My workshop is going to be about the film and television and book writing processes, and kind of the adaptation, because I've done both now. I've taken a short story and adapted it into a television script and then into a comic. But I've also, when I sold the movie in June, I retained the book rights. So I'm currently releasing the book chapter by chapter on Kindle Vella. And so I'm able to take a movie script and now adapt that into a novel, which has been really fun. It's like having a great outline to work from. And so it's been very fun. And it's called Just Jake, and it's on Kindle Vella if anybody wants to jump in. I've only released the first chapter so far.
Kindle Vella is new to me in that I read about it maybe a week or so ago. And
cool.
So it might be new to other people too. Can you just give us a little bit of information about the benefits of how that works for an author?
Sure. Yeah. I've heard about it like a year ago, and I just didn't really get into it until honestly, like last week. It must be buzzing in the universe. So Kindlevella is kind of like Wattpad in the sense that you release a chapter at a time or a section at a time. So like, I think it's 600 to 1,500 words, give or take. And the first 3 chapters or episodes are free. And then people buy tokens. So I'm making this up, but let's say you drop $20 at Amazon and they give you 2,000 tokens. And my chapter is 20 tokens. And so you get paid off of the tokens, and then you get paid off of people crowning your book, which puts it to the top of the list. So, that's always chance. But what I like about it is every single episode, there's an author message. So you can go in and say, hey, this chapter was so much fun to write. I was, in New Zealand on vacation and I saw this and it triggered me to put that into the story. Have any of you been to New Zealand? And you can have a dialogue. You can do polls like, where do you think that the main character should go next? Or do you think she should have a phobia? Should I add that in? And you can interact with your readers at a level that you just can't do when you publish a book, really. And what I really love is you're getting paid as you go, Lord willing, because so many places give away ebooks for authors and they never see a penny. And it's almost become the norm that this year to 10 years of creation time is worth nothing. And there really I think this is a good alternative to getting your digital work out and also getting compensated for your creativity.
Do you need to have basically the book written before you start dropping chapters?
No, I just wrote chapter 8 on Sunday. So for me, having the screenplay to work from as a true outline that I know is tested and is working gave me confidence to go ahead and launch the first chapter. I'm also at the same time launching book 2 in my my Viking Norse mythology series, Dreadlands, and that one is complete. So I'm just pulling chapters and editing as I go, really as a way to force myself to work and to have deadlines, because as an indie, it's really up to you whether you work or not. So giving ourselves fake deadlines is sometimes a good way to make sure that we're writing full time.
Well, Jaimie Engle, how can people get in touch with you? How can they learn more about what you're up to?
Sure, I would love that. I'm everywhere on social at Jaimie Engle Writes, JAIMIE Writes. And my website is the same spelling, JaimieEngle.com.
And are you ready to switch to our rapid fire questions?
Oh, Lord, let me put my sweatband on my forehead to catch all the nervous sweat. All right, I'm ready.
Do you have any Post-it notes on your desk?
I have, yes, I would say yes. They're clipped, but yes, I have notes everywhere.
And do you collect trophies?
Trophies. I need more details, Alison.
Well, I'm looking in my closet and I have a 3rd place speaking trophy in there, and that's what made me ask.
You know what? I collect pins when I'm at events. I love to have buttons or pins. So yes, I do. I collect pin trophies.
That's fantastic. And do you have any yard work in your yard? Now, when I say yard work, let me rephrase that. Do you have any artwork in your yard?
I do not. However, just yesterday, I saw a monster chair. It had to have been 20 feet tall, and it was an Adirondack. And I looked at my husband and I said, I want that in my front yard so I can sit on it and just swing my legs. And he said no. So no artwork in my yard.
Well, Jaimie Engle, thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Alison. Thank you for having me.
You have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. Alison out. Woo! We're all done. Jaimie Engle is a multi-award-winning writer with 11 published books. She is an expert in all things storytelling and has taught at national conferences, state libraries, and local schools on writing, publishing, and marketing books. In 2021, she began writing for film and television and optioned her first feature film in June 2022. With distribution deals through UPTV, Faith and Family Network. Several of her award-winning TV shows were also optioned and in the hands of major producers and networks. When not telling stories, Jaimie spends time with her husband, attends her oldest son's professional theater performances, and cheers on her youngest son at high school football games. A fun fact, Jaimie was an alien in seaQuest. Follow her journey on social at Jaimie Engle Writes or JaimieEngle.com. She will also be a presenter at this year's Florida WriterCon. Join us for a weekend jam-packed with networking opportunities, workshops, awards, book signings, and a youth summit. There will be so much more. Friday, October 28th through Sunday, October 30th. The Florida Writer Youth Summit on Saturday, October 29th. See you then. For more information, find us at floridawriters.org. Until next time.